Possibly you have to imagine yourself that what you want to do or where you want to see yourself several years after that. But frankly speaking, I never thought that I want to see myself several years after that as a director of the institute.
From the grassroots level, Professor, we are being trained psychologically to compete,
Right.
not to collaborate. From the school level, if you see.
Commonly happens that one such person gives a phone call, a very polite phone call or a WhatsApp message about such kind. Very common. Nobody can deny this.
उन्होंने बोला हमें ना क्या करना पड़ता है, हमें अपने आप को उस लेवल में लेके आना पड़ता है ताकि उन सबको पता चले, सबको समझ में आए, थोड़ा अपना लेवल को नीचे लेके आना पड़ता है. प्रोफेसर चक्रवर्ती सर, पहले तो ये जानना है, when you were a faculty year, a regular assistant prof, and now you are a director of one of the India's premier institute. How it's different?
When you join as a faculty, you are in a very elusive set of mind. Kyunki you have possibly done your education and then with exposures to top academic and research environments. And whenever you join as an independent person, you find that the ball game is different as an independent person and as a dependent person. So as an independent person, you have to create your own establishment. Nobody is going to give establishment for you. So what people will do? People will give you a basic office or maybe a space to work for your research, and you will have, of course, some students to work with. But that's nothing if you are imagining your, what I would say, that dream growth in a IIT like system. Now here lies the most important juncture of your career, that when you transit to an independent career, you will find that things are not as ideal as you might have thought when you were yourself a research scholar or even a postdoctoral fellow. So that mismatch between expectation and reality sometimes acts negatively and sometimes acts positively. Negatively means अरे कि कुछ नहीं होगा, यहाँ पर क्या होता है, ऐसा what I would say frustrating system, एक अप्रूवल के लिए 10 पेज लिखना पड़ता है, कभी भी लोग बोलता है और कुछ नहीं करता है, इतना बोलता है लेकिन काम में ये रिफ्लेक्ट नहीं होता है.
आप जब फैकल्टी थे आपने ऐसा कुछ फेस किया है?
नहीं, I had an advantage. Many people come to the particular place as for their service where they previously have been a student at some point of time. तो क्या है कि उससे there can be both positive and negative. Positive है कि you are familiar and the system is familiar. But negative क्या है कि you carry a baggage. Now I did not carry a baggage of this particular institute. Although I knew many people, many friends, but I did not carry a baggage of this institute. So it was an open field for me. What I felt at that point of time is that कोई career build up करने के लिए you require a few things. One is that something which is a short term you have to do. कि you have joined, you are asked to teach some courses, you are asked to guide some research, you are expected that you will get some projects from outside. So you try to cope up with these expectations and prepare yourself. But this is a bare minimum, I should say. This is not great. I mean, this is a bare minimum. The other thing is, possibly you have to imagine yourself that what you want to do or where you want to see yourself several years after that. But frankly speaking, I never thought that I want to see myself several years after that as a director of the institute. I mean, never. This was not ever in my even thought. Forget about whether it is dream or reality. It was not there. So what I thought is that, say I am of a particular specialization in terms of academics, research and all. I have some training and I want to do something which I at that time was not familiar with, but I had a vision. These are going to be upcoming emerging areas of research and studies, and we all have to remember that whatever we are studying as students is not going to be exactly relevant after some time. What is the relevant is your inner learning or your capacity to learn new things.
Right.
I could realize that possibly topics which are fascinating me or were fascinating me at that point of time, perhaps they are going to be very important breakthrough technologies or areas of research. But till that time, there was not much structured study subject or a course on such topics, typically in the Indian institute context. Even in the very premier institutes like IITs and ISC. But I had some interest. Well, I will try to take some of these subjects grounded on the learnings that I had previously, but not exactly extending that, and then trying to create a mark or create an identity or an impact while progressing in that. That was my, whole.
It was been planned. Or basically, sir, Professor, there are two sets of dichotomical thoughts. एक होता है कि हमें विजनरी या हमें फ्यूचर प्लान करना चाहिए, और एक सेट ऑफ स्कूल बोलता है कि हमें स्टेप बाय स्टेप क्या अपॉर्चुनिटी आ रहा है उसको ग्रैब करके फिर उसको एक्सप्लोर करके आगे देखना चाहिए.
Completely agreed, and it's actually a mixed mode of these two. So future plan is something which you actually cannot plan. I mean, it is something. मान लीजिए कि before COVID came, 7 days before COVID, some people might have planned that they will, make these expeditions, go here and there and all. Within 7 days lockdown, they could not move anywhere.
True.
Now the people who flourished, they converted that challenge to opportunity. So the whole idea is that, मान लीजिए कि some people were manufacturing garments. They quickly adapted themselves to make masks and this type of things.
Correct.
The whole idea is that you can never rely on a static frame of reference for your future plan. But what do you mean by vision? Vision is not exactly a point by point plan. Vision means an overall overarching thought process.
True.
And the overall overarching thought process is your guiding principle, because otherwise you will not know what to do.
Right.
Sometimes if you ask the very young children, they are very intelligent but they do not have vision. So every time they are sitting for study, you have to tell them, today you do some maths problems, then 20 physics problems. From this chapter, you have to even mark those. Young school children.
Right.
But someone who is preparing for very high level of study, you may perhaps not require that. That person will have some guiding thought, and that will guide the person ki after morning when the person sits with study materials, what the person should do.
Right.
The whole idea is that it is that vision, that thought. It may not be exactly just like research. People talk about a research plan. There is nothing called so-called research plan, because research has uncertainty. Why it is research is because you are trying to work on a problem which may not have been solved by someone else. So that means there is uncertainty. If you know the answer, it is no more research.
No more research, true.
So there is always an uncertainty. So the entire ball game of research is to have a vision, but then if you are stuck up, navigate through that, and in that process, there have been many important research breakthroughs but the target was something else,
and reached
but people navigated through something, and by serendipity or whatever, some breakthrough thing came up which people never thought of that they will come up with.
The byproduct of the whole process.
Byproduct of the whole journey, I would say.
Very true, agreed.
So in that way, I think that both the things are required. That you need to have a far vision which may be vague, and it is more vague, better it is.
Yes, agreed.
But it will give you a direction. For example, someone getting out of high school will at least know whether the person wants to become a singer or a dancer or a cricket player or a scientist. That much is needed. Now the granularity of the scientist, whether 5% of chemistry, 2% of biology or 10% of maths, that is not
the process
will it will dynamically take you through, and I would say that is the fun of actually progressing in the career. So if you already have an overstructure, you lose your fun. And my own understanding, in anyone who is doing well in anywhere, be performing arts, sports, culture, academics or business, that you have to learn enjoying what you are doing.
Agreed, completely.
This, if you cannot, your exam or whatever will not take you to that level where you will become excellent and different from others.
There is a statement I say to my students: if you feel your work is becoming a work, that work doesn't belong to you, because you're not enjoying that thing. And when you enjoy something,
absolutely.
Like
and once I heard something from Sachin Tendulkar, I mean, of course, of very similar age group, when I was in class 10 and struggling for my board exam going to come, he was already playing against Pakistan. And struggling against Imran Khan, Wasim Akram, Wakar Yunus. 1990.
Okay.
So I realized that yes, here is a person who is really the person of difference. And at that time it was not known, but later on, it was proven to be like that. So I have been always following him. though there is insignificant relationship between cricket as a career and academics as a career. So in some instance, I think someone asked him about his hobby and all those things. Sometimes people talk about their hobbies and they are quite comfortable with that. Some people will say that, although I am a scientist, but I can also play the guitar very well. I can also, sing very well. And people are very proud of that. But there are some people who feel a bit hesitant. If you ask them, they have to find out something and then say. So I found from his body language that he was a bit hesitant, although he was talking about a few things. And then, the real thing came out of him. He said that for a long period of time, by that time when he was possibly close to 30 years or even more, that he considered that cricket was his hobby and cricket was also his profession, and it could be connected in this way that he was so successful because he could not demarcate between his passion and
profession. And somebody who makes passion into profession is the most blessed person in the on the world.
Yes, so imagine a cricket player.
Right.
So we all are very happy in watching in TV and criticizing them when they are not able to perform. But imagine in this such a tough competitive Indian cricket at this moment, someone having to do well day after day, the toil that the person has to make, even if the person is representing the national team, because competition is so tough.
Very tough.
So maybe at so early in the morning when it is still dark, the person has to wake up, go to the net, and hours of perspiration.
Agreed.
To work on that. Nobody looks into that. People looks into the glamour. When these
it's the tip of the iceberg. It's the just
now when imagine these people in extreme heat or extreme winter or even when it is raining, they are not having a mindset that no today let us take rest, unless they are ill or something has happened.
One more thing happens, unless it is scheduled.
Yes.
That this day would be a rest.
Yeah, and that is for a purpose. Yeah, that is for rebuilding their body and rejuvenating them, detoxing their minds. All those are parts of their
schedule and exactly.
Otherwise, when the person has to pack up with the kit bag and go, there are clearly two sets of people. One set of people will think that okay, I am in a cricket coaching, so I have to go. Maybe the person is not feeling that drive from inside. The other person is enjoying it. Well, I have to go and work out in the net. I am going to make me perfect. Tomorrow I am going to face one of the best bowlers in the world. So I am facing the challenge. And today I am going to make myself more prepared, even though I am such a senior player and I have played so many, big games. So that makes the difference between, these mediocre and, the great.
Agreed.
And it is true in every profession.
There's a connecting point, like Professor, you have mentioned that दो चीज अलग होती है, एक cricket, एक academics. But what I feel, there's a connecting point, that is passion.
Yes, not just cricket. I gave cricket as an example because I follow cricket.
Any profession, like you have mentioned कि एक academician जो कुछ चीज में अच्छा है. I will give the example of Albert Einstein. He was a very good musician.
Of course.
And several others are also there. है वो ठीक है. But दो तीन बात आती है. एक कि आप कोई भी profession करते, कोई भी profession को अगर जज्बाती रूप से आप ले रहे हो, आप उसमें एक purpose आपको उसमें feel हो रहा है, उसको जीते हो. Now, Professor, talking about the challenges, I want to understand कि आपके लिए क्या चैलेंज होता है एक प्रीमियर इंस्टीट्यूट को चलाने के लिए, अरेंजिंग फंड और लाइक सिक्योरिंग फंड फॉर रिसर्च एंड डिफरेंट थिंग्स, गवर्नेंस, और टू ट्रांसफॉर्म द माइंडसेट ऑफ दिस करंट जनरेशन?
I would say that everything else, I have in this system, I have stayed for quite a long time, more than 2 decades before I was appointed as the director. So I have the system, I have seen the system from different points of view, as early career faculty, mid career faculty, senior faculty, head of a unit, dean, and then director. So what I have realized is that there are certain things, 2 things you do, whatever we do, I break it into 2 parts. One is proactive, another is reactive. So reactive is like, damage control. So that is one of the daily things that a director of any institute or head of any institute has to do. Some fixing up things. And sometimes fixing up things, they are actually quite big, because it is something which is going to fix up things which have for decades have not been fixed.
Such as?
For example, let us say the well-being of students, and it's a very complex problem. So let us say that over the years, we have been seeing a transformation in the minds of students, mostly dictated by the socio-economic factors, the role of coaching center, parental pressure. What I would say, considering money earning as the only sort of, peace-giving,
right,
aspect.
Like financial upliftment is the ultimate.
Yes, that's the only upliftment. And the traditional Indian way of making a career, where whatever you get out of a competitive exam is what you choose, rather than where your mind is. So in that way, mostly people land up at such opportunities, which if you ask them in a very candid manner to reply, they will say that they are actually not interested or good at that. I know many people who were into studying, medical subjects or medicine, while it was purely out of some circumstance, but they had no interest. I had a very close friend who was a computer science student, but he wanted to, he was very good in creative writing. He wanted to be a journalist, and later on he turned out to be like that.
Switch kiya baad mein.
In a way, he got an opportunity through an IT job in a media house, and then navigated and went finally it was found that he found his purpose, and he was writing that educational articles, contents of that. Right. And so all these things happen. We have many IITians who have become successful in, say, creative arts and several other things, which are apparently disconnected from the engineering education that they have got from IIT, or as a matter of fact many other places.
And I believe I was checking, going through some facts, और मुझे ये पता समझ में आया, और ये मैं पूछने वाला भी था आपसे कि मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द IITians अगर देखा जाए, जो बंदा आज से लेके 10 साल पहले IIT से पास आउट किया है या उससे पहले का, अगर मैं बैच को देखूं, बहुत लिमिटेड नंबर्स होता है जो एक्चुअली वो जो स्ट्रीम में से पास आउट हुआ है, वो स्ट्रीम का फील्ड में वो कुछ काम कर रहा है.
It has been there traditionally over the years. Now it has intensified more and more complex. I was coming to the challenge of managing the institute. More complex factors have come up because of the social media impact, which has always an opportunity to take you to a complete virtual world.
Right.
People count success by number of likes, and the particular posting on which the like is being given is completely unedited. Nobody has edited it, nobody has verified it,
right.
And it can completely misrepresent the reality.
And that also leading to some psychological distress among the
That is what I am saying. And people start more comparing with pseudo success, pseudo happiness, which has never happened. See, real life, I tell to many students who are, in some way I mix informally with the students. I have been always doing that as a director. I have not changed my approach. I just walk around and talk with students, go to hostels and all, not always in the formal way with my official vehicle or with security, etc. Just randomly.
Right.
And what I realize, there is a significant disconnect of many of these people with the real world. And then what happens is that a little bit of something which is not designed creates a lot of disturbance to them. And sometimes they find it is irreparable. When in our era, the kind of scolding that we got from school, even college teachers, not all, but from some of the teachers. I was just telling one of our students that perhaps the name of any animal was not scared, except tiger and lion, which are sort of considered to be very powerful and impactful animals.
All of them,
all sorts of animals with whom mean and low level activities are sort of
I was
tagged.
very famous. I was been called most of the time by my teachers as, in Bengali we call Badur,
Gadha, whatever. So in that way, but and physical assault. I'm not saying that physical assault should be a part of your education system. But what I am saying is that it was a different era. So our tolerance level became very strong, and we were not usually upset with any such things. And I realized that it was a very important aspect of life. Let us say, someday some teacher scolded, some exam, it was not up to the marks. See, so many exams we give throughout the life. Can you guarantee that all exams you can, you perform equally well? It's not possible. So, but we all knew that, human life as we progress, it will be like that. Today it is going like that, tomorrow it will not impact. Some people used to say, अरे छोड़ दो ना, ये सब एग्जाम 4 साल के बाद सब भूल जाएगा ना, देखो ना वो जॉब कर रहा है, उसमें क्या क्लास 11 में कुछ क्या एग्जाम कुछ क्या मार्क्स मिला, उसका कोई इम्पैक्ट ही नहीं है. And I realize it is true. But now, so all these children, see, this is a problem typical to IIT like place, because this you will not get in other so-called quote-unquote mediocre institutes, because students who are coming here are coming with the bird's eye that we that target that we have to somehow enter IIT, and that somehow is very important. So by somehow means coaching center, grill, this, that, and in a very nuclear family, these children are growing up in a certain way that they can solve maths, physics, chemistry, etc. But they are not getting into any sort of life skill, which is essential
humanly skills, the social skills,
a simple life skill to survive in life, or to just absorb the ups and downs.
Yes.
So that they do not have. So then these poor children enter IIT and we become their custodians. Now it is impossible to decode what is going on their mind.
जो psychological distress चल रहा है.
Imagine IIT Kharagpur, 17,000 around students, all staying in one campus and more or less all growing in this one-dimensional. How can we decode what is going on in their mind? So we need a lot of things to do for mental health. But when when I interact with students, I say that mental health, this was not at all a topic when we were students. We had physical health very important. Some people used to get ill with this, that, and all. Very commonly with taking unhygienic food, or that fuchka, or that one outside
street
school, college street foods, junk foods, and seasonal diseases. All these things, then we were very concerned about those. And physical health was always important. But mental health, we knew that there are some people who have mental health issues, but we never thought that privileged people like us who were getting education at good places, mental health would be a problem. But now mental health is a more problem for people from the privileged people.
Most concerned problems are, and I believe, Professor, you will be knowing, many students are committing suicide.
No, of course, we face this, and this is one of the worst things that we think about, because whenever we decode these things, everyone realizes that we do not know the exact reason, but the possible reason for every such case where students have, sort of, completely devastating situation, have lost their lives or killed themselves, that it is nothing actually. It has no impact on what they are going to do.
Right.
But perhaps they could not share that with anyone else.
That human relation they have lost.
It's completely virtual. It is through chat, and they are also very sort of limited in the thought process of their career.
अब सोचिए प्रोफेसर साहब, ऐसा होता है कि आपने कुछ पोस्ट किया, for an example, some moments, and out of the thousands of moments in a day, you have posted one moments, and you don't know that's falsified or not. And उससे किसी इंसान जो देख रहा है वो क्रॉस कंपैरिजन में आ जा रहा है. And now the another biggest point is वो किसी को एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर पा रहा है वो, क्योंकि वो सोशल कनेक्शन वो तो सोशल मीडिया के थ्रू बना है.
So all through chat and who is responding and all those things, you have no real idea about their realistic thing.
आप वो प्लेटफॉर्म के उस साइड में कौन है?
So the bottom line of the story is that with the huge such sort of set of problems which have piled up over the recent years, one of the obvious jobs for us is reactive. That means how to react to this situation. Well, we have not built up this situation, but we have to react to that, respond to that. So that takes a majority of the time. But if you ask me that what would be a real time, quality time of a director, is not to think about these. There should be CEOs or strategic managers, or like what I would say administrative officials who need to work on these on a daily basis and solve and address these crises. Whereas a director's job has to be transformative. That means how we can create a positive transformation through strategic interventions with proper mission, vision and all. But the challenge is that more than 90% time, if it goes by fixing up, say you are there at your home, which you want to build up like a dream studio, but every time you have to fix up water falling from the roof, the window is broken, the door doesn't work, your domestic help doesn't come, then how do you, create a dream house?
Most of your power, energy,
Most
concentration will fit
of
for
your
that
energy,
role.
you are a human, you have limited time. So I think it is a right time, and perhaps a policy thing that, at the highest level people should consider, that have the director's role not explicitly linked with these kinds of fixing up things, and possibly have a very efficient administrator who can take up this job in consultation with the director, because it requires a two-way thing. If you want to make transformative things, you also have to be sensitive to all the things which are going on.
Agreed.
You cannot disconnect yourself with the reality and think about a dream. But to be transformative, what I realized is that you have to have a quality time where you think of new and positive reforms rather than reforms for eradicating negativity. So the new and these positive reforms, I would say, is the hallmark of the success of a director. And I think
so. IIT Kharagpur is taking care of this student well-being and welfare and psychological well-being. And
so what I have done is, I have, again, as I am telling, I have tried to follow a mixed mode. One is bit of a reactive. That means that sensitive response to what has been going on in the recent times, and trying to create new interventions or new models which are going to be proactive, and their success in the long run, it will not give immediate result. Their success in the long run will also address some of these things that we had to do in a reactive way. So, for example, think about that unfortunate thing of suicide management. So, one reactive thing is that either something like this which has happened, or there are potentials, we have to nip those potentials in a bud. That is a reactive thing. Proactive thing is that I create such positive engagement models for students that this will not even ever come to the mind of a student that this is an option of losing.
Such as?
For example, a student, the major transformation in the students is that actual loneliness. The connectivity may be there through the environment, but physically there is a loneliness. And that loneliness, that shackle can be broken only when you have strategic mechanisms of the student engaging and participating in different things and rewarding them, either academically or through rewards. For example, engagements in projects for campus and community development through new technologies.
And that's in a form of a team?
In a form of a team. Because individually, if you grow, the challenge is that if there is a resistance, that also you have to absorb individually.
And that becomes again
that becomes a challenge. Everyone is not that kind of resilient to do that. Every human
from the childhood, it has been, the thing is, if you see from the grassroots level, Professor, we are being trained psychologically to compete,
right,
not to collaborate. From the school level, if you see.
No, that is, these are certain things which are very complex socio-economic problems. See, we are from a hugely populated country. So there will always be a competition to get into the best places. And that competition will create a situation or create a trigger in your mind that somehow you have to overcome the hurdles by hook or crook. Although that hook or crook people will not tell you.
But you will develop a program in that way.
You will develop a mindset for that. And then cooperative learning and engagement will not be there.
And that becomes in the future a destructive thing.
Destructive thing, because your entire success is a teamwork. See, I am the director of the institute. Can I alone take the institute to the level which I want? I need to build up a team, and everyone who is in my team, if the person is doing well and empowered to do well, that will collectively result in a success, which is a culmination of the realization of my vision into the practicality. Otherwise, it will not happen. So, I think that for any director to create a transformational journey, human resources are the most important. So, be it students, be your staff, be your faculty, or be your collaborators, or external persons with whom you are engaging for anything. That human resource building is the most important thing. See, if you have money, you can build up a nice infrastructure with a Taj Mahal like academic institute looking. If you have money, you can do that.
Agreed.
But if you do not have a human resource that will remain like a showpiece for visitors, but it will not become a temple of higher academic and research learning.
But somehow what I believe now, the will not name the universities or institute, mostly the private universities are to making Taj Mahals, more or less.
No, what I say is that we can always be critics, but the thing is that any organization who is building starting from zero, it's a chicken egg problem. How they will attract the best people, be student, be faculty, they have to create certain infrastructure. Now the challenge is that the infrastructure, once it gets directed more towards a showpiece rather than platform for building up academic and research excellence, that is that bifurcation which is not desirable.
And that's a matter of investigation or research, because there are different cohorts which comes in different pockets. You have mentioned about human resource, right? Talking about teachers, in your time, because you are very senior to me, and then my time, our time, we have seen even our seniors or our father's time, right? Teachers were seen as a passionate teachers, right? Now, I don't know how much you will agree or not. My observation is now teaching is becoming like a regular job, not a passion-driven teaching. Do you agree with it?
It's true for most people, but ironically, the people who are getting into the highest level of success in the teaching or research job, they are still like those old teachers, that passion, that thing is coming back and forth in the discussion. And it is related to the human resource.
Why I'm talking about this? Because if we want to learn something, a lot of mediums are there. Google, ChatGPT, AIs, everything is there. If you want just information, right? Then what's the play of a teacher?
No, that is what, so what I talked about is this is a very important question, and I give talks on these at different places. The role of a teacher in the AI era. So I will, of course, give a concise answer because of the interest of time. So if you see, again, we have to go back to our era of teachers versus, what we require.
The contemporary time.
Yeah, contemporary time. So perhaps my time and my son's time. So my son is in class 9, and if I am comparing my class 9, that is a good comparison. One generation across comparison. So at that time, who was a great history teacher? A teacher who would remember that in which year what battle was fought and would narrate that in such a way we will say, wow, this person remembers all those things like that. Who was a great life science teacher? A teacher who will draw the sketches of those, say, human body, different systems, or animals or plants, different systems, and make nice, pointings of that in a handwork. We found, oh, great, see the board work of the person, see the notes that the person is giving. Now, say someone wants to learn that, the freedom movement, the different stages of India's freedom movement. Get into the net, type in, say Google, ChatGPT, whatever. You will get explosion of information. Some of them may be correct, some of them may not be correct. So all what you require is someone, a guide-like person who will guide you to the right study material, so that you can, but the person does not himself or herself have to give you that information. Say you want to understand how the human heart works. So in the book some diagrams are there, left ventricle, right ventricle, all those things. Different arteries, veins connected, aorta, all these things. And we all used to memorize and, get. I used to say that we had, two types of students in a bit of a political language. One is fundamentalist, someone who wants to learn the fundamental of the subject. Another is Marxist. Look like, two political terms. But Marxist is a student who wants to get marks on. And somehow we have encouraged these Marxist students.
So technically you have polarized the whole section.
So what happens is that who is a great student who will commit to memory those things and vomit on the paper in the nice way. Now, see, what is the purpose? If you now think about the purpose, say you are a doctor or a physiology expert. So what is the purpose of your learning of how the human heart works? Is to understand how the blood pumping and all those things are taking place, so that if someone has a disease and all, or some irregularities, you can relate it with the person's physiological things and suggest an intervention. That is the overall idea.
Agreed.
Now, there are numerous nice YouTube videos, which even if you are a lay person, if you are looking into that, it will give you a fairly good idea. May not be very advanced. So it's school class 9 level. We would better substitute that old style of drawing the diagram of human heart and drawing this with this video. for better learning of the student.
Agreed. So it's like balancing another.
So all what it means is that old school of teacher is no more required, and not only that. If teachers insist on teaching in that way, it creates such a disconnect with the modern generation students that they either feel the subject is not important or they feel that the teacher is useless. And both of these are disastrous.
Now, one more addition to your discussion, sir. Professor, I have observed certain thing like teachers are coming, a section of, not everyone, a section of teachers who is just coming and reading. They are having a PPT, ready PPT, and delivering line by line from the PPT.
No, exactly. This is not required. I know. And again, I used to tell in a sort of a sarcastic language. University designations when we were students, there used to be 3 different tiers: lecturer, reader, and professor, which were subsequently merged into assistant professor, associate professor, and full professor.
Right.
So lecturers were the youngest ones, still very motivated. They were not rotten by that.
Agreed.
Their senior dadas. So they used to prepare nicely for their teaching, all those things, and
create the proper teaching material.
And right? They were usually the most preferred ones if they
are the student community,
to the student community, close to their age group, could understand the student sentiments,
have a connection.
Then gets the next promotion, becomes a reader. We used to say, who is a reader? Who reads the materials. So that modern reader is the PowerPoint thing.
Means the
sophisticated.
More you're becoming.
So in those days, the reader used to be whom? That the person who used to read out those notes. Students used to make fun that they are reading out these notes, all those notes, yellow pages. So then some teachers got a trick. They used to take these notes to the photocopy machine and the yellow page will become white. And then they will start using that white. So now it is different PowerPoint version.
Agreed.
So giving a bit of AI into that so that it looks good. But that old wine in a new bottle, and even worse. So this is useless teaching, not at all required. So this is giving information. For this, no teacher is required. You are just required to give 2 things. In terms of a standard education. One is train the students how to learn and what to learn. What to learn is very important because there is information explosion. Young children will not know that at their stage what they should learn. So what to learn and how to learn. How to learn is very important because with that dramatically transforming world, in our era, whatever we used to learn in college, at least 20 years people could survive with that, churning that, if someone is a teacher. Now, whatever is being learned, maybe within 1 year that is not relevant because AI is doing that.
Agreed.
So, I told someone to do this exercise out of fear of losing their importance nobody is doing. That give ChatGPT the standard questions of a 4-year BTech program. All the subjects, standard questions, not non-standard. And see how much ChatGPT can answer. Someone told me in some subject they gave an almost 90% ChatGPT answer quite well.
Right.
So 90% means the base grade, highest grade.
Very true.
So that means ChatGPT can give all the answers. So if the student asks a question, then if ChatGPT gives all the answers correctly, so why should I learn the subject? So what would be a teacher's answer?
And continuation to that, sir, I have observed, Prof, that teachers are, for the examinations, for the semester exams, for the midterms and those things, teachers are, or the assignments, teachers are creating the question bank from AI.
Standard.
Right. And the students are using the AI for the answers.
AI for the answer.
So AI is making the question, AI is giving the answer.
All these things are there. So what we have to understand, that the entire paradigm is that we have to use AI as a tool in this transforming world.
Right.
But we should not be dictated by AI for...
Technically, we shouldn't be controlled by them.
Right. So the whole idea is that, and this is where, the modern approach of IIT education, this in the previous Senate meeting I talked about, is very decent. That if we imagine the entire knowledge, so one is the foundation knowledge. Foundation knowledge is the conceptual learning in a subject. Say you are studying electrical engineering, computer science, mechanical engineering, maths, physics. So there will be certain foundation topics which will give you a conceptual clarity. And these are deep fundamental understandings which just by going through PowerPoint or reading or looking into internet materials, you will not be able to easily follow.
Agreed.
So that would be one level where really good teachers are required. And then the best mode of teaching is mostly found, ironically, even in the modern era, is chalk and talk. Foundation subjects. and you mix it up with videos and this and all, fine.
In detail board you use markers and then...
Yes, I mean, for example, someone who used to draw a nice diagram to explain something, you don't waste the time. Use a nice, open web, picture or movie and explain students to that, no problem.
So for creating the content, you have certain resources which could be used.
You use that. But so you are no more going to be important for creating the content. You are important for giving the in-between line explanation, which at that age, with that limited maturity, that boy or girl will not be able to. That you have to understand until and unless you exert yourself to that. So that is the role of a teacher in those foundation courses. Every subject can identify those foundation courses. Then it gets into what I would say, what we can call as interdisciplinary or breadth or life skill courses. That means that certain skills which now are important and in a different form those will be important forever. When we were students, the programming language, which nowadays students call coding, etc., but same thing. The scientific thing was done with Fortran, then C, and then with the modern era people use Python and all these things. But if you see that the fundamental philosophical or logical approach of building these things all the same. So getting into that mindset, so someone who has understood that central philosophical and conceptual and logical flow very well, easily be able to adjust himself or herself as these requirements of coding evolve.
They will easily adapt to.
So the role of a teacher of such a subject is to impart those kind of skills which in a transforming world may be in a different form but will be dynamically.
The teacher connects the things, fundamental things.
So that can be AI, coding, do it yourself, what we say as that, make some electronic assembly to do work in your own hand, and it is also related to student engagement. So there are many things, and there are certain life skills, there are certain United Nations defined life skills. So you can have really targeted courses for that, interdisciplinary courses which connect the so-called humanities and social sciences with engineering and other knowledge, communication skills. So many of these things which in different forms will be required throughout your life. So that is a layer 2. Layer 3, now using these you can have certain your subject specific electives which may be combination of AI and your core subject. For example, use of AI in manufacturing. So you can have certain electives, and there are two types of electives may be possible. One is where you combine the two different disciplines to constitute a subject which is according to the requirement. For example, AI. We all talk about AI. Now, is AI teaching for a computer science student, a mechanical engineering student, and a law student? Will those be the same? It cannot be. Their backgrounds are different, their requirements are different.
Specifications are different, combos are different.
But all of them are using AI. So what you have to do is to make customized courses for which will combine their core thing with the emerging trend.
Like ingredients, what ingredients they need for their particular thing.
And it has to be a different mode of teaching. You bring that classical AI teacher, that teacher may not be able to teach it. You bring a law person to teach AI, that person will read from PowerPoint, cannot do anything. So you have to have a collaboration between these two people to build up the teaching learning.
That particular module and
that is the new generation teaching learning for sub elective courses. There are many elective courses currently running which have that information content which are already there in the open source material. So they can be converted to reading courses. What are reading courses? You are given the study material either in toto or the links in the net where you can study, and then you are given homework, quizzes, group work, presentations, etc., which will reflect your assimilation from that material.
Right.
It is no more that traditional exam. So in that way, why it is so? Say I am having to do some research. Will I be debarred from using a book? Rather, I will be encouraged to use journals and open source material to constitute and work on my research. So why should we not student like that?
The point you have raised, Prof, is a very relevant and very important. Now, I was having a discussion with one of the vice chancellor of a central university, and I came to a understanding that for every profession there is a training, right? For administrative services, for whatever services are there. For teaching services, the thing you have mentioned, proper training.
I think what is required is more, more orientation. See, training, there are, flat ways of giving teachers training, like the old B.Ed style and all.
Now, orientation you have mentioned, now it becomes like a paperwork, like.
No. The orientation has to be in a workshop mode. That means a teacher, as an outcome of such orientation program, has to design a curriculum and develop the teaching learning of that one particular part of the curriculum, and that will be the assessment.
एक एजुकेशन मिनिस्ट्री के एक हायर ऑफिशियल से मेरा इंटरेक्शन हुआ एंड ही इज द ट्रेनर्स सो उन्होंने क्या किया कि एज ही ट्रेन्स द फैकल्टीज प्रोफ्स एंड एवरीवन उनका बोलना ये था, डॉक्टर साहब जानते हो मैं उनको क्वेश्चन ये पूछा था, सर मुझे ये बताइए जब आप पढ़ाते हो, जब उनको आप इंस्ट्रक्शंस देते हो, उनकी नज़र में वो पैशन दिखता है, वो जज्बात दिखता है जब आप वो फैकल्टी के स्लॉट्स को आप ट्रेन कर रहे हो एज यू आर द ट्रेनर्स ट्रेन? उन्होंने बोला हमें ना क्या करना पड़ता है, हमें अपने आप को उस लेवल में लेके आना पड़ता है ताकि उन सबको पता चले, सबको समझ में आए, थोड़ा अपना लेवल को नीचे लेके आना पड़ता है। तो माय क्वेश्चन वाज दैट, मुझे ये समझाइए जब आपको अपना लेवल लेके आना पड़ रहा है उनको समझाने के लिए, करंटली स्टूडेंट्स को पढ़ा रहे हैं, वो वहां पर पहुंचे कैसे?
नहीं, क्या है कि वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि सो अगेन एन एनालॉजी, तो लॉन्ग टाइम बैक वी यूज्ड टू follow some Indian club football, because Bengal is such a place, you have all those Mohun Bagan, East Bengal and all these. So one of the famous coaches, Amol Dutt,
right.
He was a legendary coach at that point
Mohun
of time.
Bagan, right?
Mohun Bagan, and then he from India, also East
Right.
Bengal, maybe Mohammedan Sporting, many clubs he coached, and he introduced a system called as diamond system, which was perhaps not known to the Indian players, but it was something established elsewhere.
Right.
So he converted that strategy to that diamond system. I do not understand that much, but it was an important catchword in the media at that time. So in his team was doing reasonably well. So in one of those matches, it was found that in a disastrous manner the team lost, and all the players, they were out of context, they were out of idea.
Right.
The opponent completely overshadowed them with a strategy. And they had no idea, because the whole thing was that they had to dynamically adapt themselves to the opponent's idea, and despite his coaching, he failed to impart that dynamic thing, that nobody can coach. See, you can coach a teacher that how to teach in the present context. How can you coach that teacher that after 20 years when situation will change, what the person will do? But this person is just entering into the job, he or she will be teaching for 30 years.
But even the training is a dynamic process.
No,
every quarter.
See, this is no training. This is like showing in pen and paper training has been done. This is not training.
And actually that is happening in the name of refresher and orientation. This is happening.
So that is a requirement. You need a tick mark for your career progress. So that is not training.
जिसे आज के डेट में API बोला जाता है.
So what you now realize, so he made a statement, all the journalists were almost sort of crowding him, and he was lost of giving explanation. Then he gave one sort of in Bangla what he told, চচ্চড়ি করার মশলা দিয়ে বিরিয়ানি করা যায়। That means, I am explaining it for our non-Bengali understanding audience. If you have some spices or masala for making some mundane food items, you cannot make a royal biryani out of that spice. You need special spice for that royal biryani. So the whole idea is that it is your ingredient. वो masala demotivated है, masala is like that. What can you do then? You can in management it is told you can bring horse to water, but you cannot make it drink.
Very true. प्रोफेसर, इसी बात में कंटिन्यूएशन में बात आता है कि जो मैटर है ना, बिरयानी का मसाला से बिरयानी बनेगा और आप चच्चड़ी का मसाला से बिरयानी नहीं बना सकते।
वो भी है, राइट। नो, बट इट इज आल्सो ट्रू कि बिरयानी का मसाला से चच्चड़ी भी नहीं बना सकता है। तो
जिसके लिए जो चाहिए,
सो समटाइम्स चच्चड़ी मसाला इज आल्सो रिक्वायर्ड
चच्चड़ी के लिए।
हाँ, उसके लिए तो थोड़ा स्टूडेंट्स का कोई डिसिप्लिन का जरूरत है, वो मॉर्निंग में प्रेयर में लाइन में खड़ा नहीं हो रहा है, उसके लिए वो सब टीचर चाहिए कि उसको थोड़ा डांटो। मैं देखता हूँ, अरे कितना वो स्ट्रिक्ट है, वो इतना डांटता है स्टूडेंट्स को, अरे तुम लाइन में खड़ा रहो, जूता ये करो। अरे दीज आर ऑल इम्पोर्टेंट, बट इनको लाइफ स्किल दे दो, विच इज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट। क्या ये जूते का इतना सफेद है क्या? नहीं है। इट इज अ मोर पनिशमेंट फॉर देयर गार्जियंस रादर देन देम कि सुबह को उठ के जूता पॉलिश करना।
टेक्निकली जेरकम जैसा भगवान है उसको वैसा देना पड़ेगा।
जैसा भगवान है ऐसा ही देना पड़ेगा। ऐसा भगवान ज्यादा होने से तो टीचिंग लर्निंग पूरा बेकार बन गया है।
और एक इसमें मजेदार है यहाँ पर बात, आई वाज थिंकिंग ऑफ दैट फैकल्टी रिक्रूटमेंट। यहाँ पर मैंने एक चीज देखा, जो बोलो ना चौचुड़ी और कैसा प्रसाद को लिया जाएगा, क्या आप मानते हो? मुझे पहले तो ये समझना है हाउ IIT और बीइंग अ डायरेक्टर, यू बीइंग अ मेंबर ऑफ दैट पैनल, यू रिक्रूट, और व्हाट यू सी इन योर फ्यूचर इंस्टीट्यूशनल फैकल्टीज और assistant profs?
I just want to see one thing, the potential and the tenacity. See, this is where I differ a lot from many of the members. Sometimes they are asking some probing questions on the subject and the person is not able to answer that. But you have to think it rationally. Say you are a senior professor, for 20 years you have been teaching a subject and you have become an expert in the selection committee. So to you it will be as simple as something that is your at the tip of your finger, that thing, because you have been cultivating that thing year after year. Imagine what you were at his age, number one. Number two is that he has not come up with the practice of really sort of preparing himself or herself for that particular thing. So the person may falter. But what you have to see is the overall impression about the person as an academic personality to grow in an independent. That you have to assess. What I see is missing in all the faculty recruitments, across the best of the institutes, is a technically blended HR component, which is different from the HR interview of the companies. It is a technically blended HR component, but the HR aspect will combine the EQ and IQ.
It's a balance between them.
That is very important. So we find a lot of very promising candidates who satisfy all the requirements and give reasonably good answers. They get selected, but they are not successful.
Because of the EQ matter?
Because of the EQ factor. And this EQ factor is something which is academic EQ. It may not be overall EQ, but that has to be analyzed. And we currently do not have a mechanism to do that. So it depends on the experience and wisdom of the panel. And if it is there, the selection is good. If it is not, we are always recruiting bright candidates. But
right,
the future,
from the academical perspective.
Right from their CV
perspective. Numbers,
but how they are extrapolating that to the future career, it's
because that becomes a loss to not to a single person, to thousands of students. Because
yes. One demotivated faculty can demotivate
lakhs
millions of such people.
Yes, very true. Now, in that case again, Director, one very straightforward question. Do you face certain situation when you are being requested or influenced to select certain candidate?
No, see, this is not just selecting certain candidate. We have to understand that we live in a society where there will always be people who are more influential than you.
Very true. Like some, let's say, because...
no, let us not name anybody. I'm just generalizing it.
Exactly. One example I will give. I will not name the university. One example. They were recruiting faculties for a department, and there was a vacancy of four candidates, and they have interviewed around 90 plus candidates. Out of the 2 candidates was one the dean's daughter, another candidate was the VC's close person. 2 subject experts are there in the panel, 6-7 people panel.
In these cases we have worked out after taking over at IIT Kharagpur, I noticed that similar things happen. Daughter, nephew and all those things are things which you can see.
One more was
there are things which you may not be able to see.
Yeah, parties, affiliation or university.
There are so many things which may be hidden. This someone just can be a buddy, but you really do not have any such blood relationship.
And this is not a single one.
So what I have introduced is a statement of conflict of interest. Every such interview, the panelists have to declare it, and we take it very seriously that if sometimes it is found that there was something which was not declared, it would be taken with strongest of the exceptions. So people have become alert about that.
It's a big step.
It's this I have done. But then if someone wants to do unethical things, there are ways in which you can do. There is always you cannot see. This is where the difference is there between law, morality and ethics. See, law can stop things by legality. Morality and ethics can be, deviation from that can still be legal but immoral and unethical.
This is a very important stand you have mentioned, Prof, to the audience also tell that this is an example we can take from Professor Chakraborty, that if a head of the institution, university, himself or herself has no morality, then what the
No, absolutely. And for each of these cases, I am abiding by this conflict of interest. Now, if, for example, faculty recruitment is going on and I find in some candidate one of my former PhD students, I will definitely say that this is he was my PhD student. So I will not take part in decision making of this and let the senior most person who is there in the committee take
I
the
will
decision.
give you two examples. I will not mention the name of the universities. One is State University, another is Central University. In the State University, the person who was the member of the board, all the candidates who was the subject expert, all the candidate who got selected is his call. In the Central University,
No, I think I think this has to be, if these cases have happened, this has to be reported with lot of seriousness. Even an explanation can be asked that if there were 10 candidates and 5 were chosen, all the students of one particular committee member, then what is so special about these students? This question can be asked.
and why I have raised this issue, because this is something, being an academician, I have observed these things, and
What I am saying is, there is another level of influence. This is one thing.
political influences of the...
So this what I am saying is that at my level as a director, I can manage.
Right.
Within the system, no one is more influential than me. But outside the system, there are thousands of people more influential than me in different ways. Maybe through their network, connection, political, whatever. I'm not, giving a single out.
Agreed. And how this can be...
This very commonly happens that one such person gives a phone call, a very polite phone call, or a WhatsApp message about such candidate. Very common. Nobody can deny this. So there my integrity is in question, because I can always do that. I can always entertain that, provided that person is of a threshold quality. But if not, then I am actually compromising with the sanctity of my own job.
The chair you are sitting.
The chair where I am sitting, I am dishonoring that. So I have got a nice strategy for that. And it has happened also. So first of all, if there is a very influential person gives me a call and all, I respectfully take that call and I seriously mean it. That sir or ma'am, I will definitely look into this with a lot of consideration. Then the selection committee meeting comes. I do not inform anyone else in the committee or bias anyone else in the committee that I have already been biased for that.
I got your mindset.
And then I see what the committee is saying. If I find that the committee is satisfied more or less, then I am also a human. I also have to, survive in the society.
Yes, exactly.
I cannot be enemy of everybody. So if I find that, it is almost matching with the committee's thing, and
there's an alignment of that.
An alignment of that, I can say, no, this is a good candidate.
Right, I agree.
But and then I can give a feedback, sir, ma'am, we could honor it. But let us say entire committee is saying no, it's not. So I will not select that person, because I am governed by my committee. I am not greater than the committee. But what I do is that I come back to the same person who had that influence, again politely calling back that sir, ma'am, we tried our best, but somehow this profile did not match with the expectations of the committee. We are sorry and we will try our best next time. That is what the best I can do.
This is a very important thing which the people who are in the chair should understand, because if somebody is in the chair and if you are...
It's a huge responsibility.
Yes, because...
See, I may be important, but IIT Kharagpur, it's a name by itself.
Very true.
So I cannot do anything. I am given the job of being the custodian of this institute for 5 years. So to keep the esteem of this institute at the highest level, according to the best of my knowledge, I should try. My knowledge may be faulty, but I should not do a deliberate wrong.
For audience information, I will tell you, IIT Kharagpur is the first IIT established in India in 1952, if I am not wrong.
1951.
51, sorry for that. So it is going to be 75 years?
Yeah, 75th year, it has started.
Congratulations, Prof. So we need to take learning, and the learning, one of the important learning is that सर ने जैसे बताया ना, आप अगर गलत मसाला चूज कर लोगे तो गलत खाना बनेगा, और यहाँ मसाला क्या है बोलिए तो faculty.
Not just faculty.
The whole
human resource, faculty, staff, student. Everyone.
चाहे वो PhD scholar का selection हो कि faculty का या whatever.
Anywhere. So wherever human resource has to be selected, we have to hold the sanctity to the best of our knowledge. We should try to recruit the best who will take the institute forward.
And now talking about best, Prof, what's your thoughts about the accreditation system in India? Different accreditations.
Accrediting the
institutes, universities, and those.
There are formal ways. What I would say is that we should take it as the spirit rather than the formality.
Formality.
So the spirit is like every system requires check balance and review to progress. So wherever we are definitely much ahead as compared to many other tier 2, 3 institutions. We have to keep in mind that we are also behind as compared to many other global institutions in different ways.
International accreditations when we take into account.
My view on this is, may not always a formality, but take the spirit of that. That means what are the parameters, what are the factors which are considered as benchmarks of national and global excellence? How are we doing with that, and where we are doing good, where we are not doing good, and we need to improve upon? This kind of auditing is very much required.
Prof, the auditing system, as you have mentioned, I have seen very closely in some of the big name universities in India, that at last moment the documents are manipulated. It's more of papers, game of papers.
No. Let us not get into that. As I was telling you, that anything can be sort of manipulated. So at the end, the question will come, morality, ethics, and all. And these are certain things which you cannot teach to people.
Very true.
There's no way.
But it's like a race now in India. Like
I'm sure it is there in other countries also, not just in India. But what we have to do is to create checks and balances which will catch these at some points. But you cannot eliminate that mentality. So if you could have eliminated that, no vigilance in anything would have been required.
As a national interest, the things has to be done.
So it has to be done. And
final concluding question from my side is, first of all, I want to congratulate you for becoming one of the top 2% scientists in the Stanford list, as well as I believe 52 more faculties of IIT Kharagpur is right now in the list.
It's more, it's close to 90.
Oh, sorry, close to 90. Now, one question. How much relevance it has with the societal impact?
So what I would say is that this kind of ranking is important but very synthetic. Why synthetic? That they will not know the impact of work of individual faculty. So they will basically churn data on the publications of the faculty.
So it's like a bibliometric analysis.
It's a bibliometric analysis, and bibliometric analysis and real impact, they may or may not be correlated. So it's difficult to say. I would say that it's good in a way that it shows that at least bibliometric analysis wise some people are quite good, which is one of the indices. But I would say it is one of the necessary conditions, but not sufficient to tell that what you are doing is impactful.
So what's the research? You are a person of mechanical science, if I'm not wrong. I am coming from social science. What you have seen as a scholar, the possibilities, the fundings, the opportunities in your that time, and right now being a director, any shift toward the positiveness, and what's the thing?
Yes, lots of new opportunities, but we have to see that new opportunities have come, but we have to compare with the emergence of new opportunities as a research scholar versus in other professions. So it is like, I cannot compare that what I get, what research scholars are getting now versus what they used to get in my era when I was a research scholar. I have to compare what research scholars are getting now as compared to their friends working in other professions.
Okay, very true.
And then make that basis as compared to what was there in my time as a research scholar versus where people were there in industry or other things.
If you won't mind, can I ask you, what was your scholarship when you were a scholar?
My scholarship when I was a master student, we celebrated because it got changed from 2,500 to 5,000 rupees. I think we celebrated it.
That was in
1997.
That has came a long way. But again, compared to that...
But you have to compare with standard of livings and how purchasing power of money. It's a complex thing.
And again, the internationally, other universities...
And expectations from people. See, that was an era when we were very happy to travel by a second class, non-AC, unreserved.
Sleeper was a dream.
And a sleeper was a dream. And I tell to my son that you are missing this, that in those days, a window seat, when the window did not shut down simply because the glass was not working, and we could see the scenery and all outside. It was such a great feeling, and now I do not think that the comfort of sitting in a AC always overshadows that that sense that people are missing.
Agreed, completely agreed. Prof, I want you to answer this question for the audience. This was a question from the audience itself, that there is a notion in India, in Bengal there is a predominant notion, अगर आपने science लिया, अगर आप science का student हो तो आप brilliant हो, बाकी subject सब्जेक्ट्स का जो है ना, ह्यूमैनिटीज एंड व्हाटएवर अदर सब्जेक्ट्स का स्टूडेंट मतलब उतना ब्राइट नहीं है, साइंस का स्टूडेंट है मतलब बहुत ब्राइट है। भले बंदा को 50-60% या 30% 40% कोई भी सब्जेक्ट, हर इंसान में टैलेंट है।
नहीं नहीं, ये क्या है, आई अंडरस्टैंड इट इजीली। ये हमारा मम्मी का प्रॉब्लम है, ये मम्मी लोगों का प्रॉब्लम। तो मम्मी लोग क्या बोलते हैं कि हमारा बच्चा ब्रेनी है। ब्रेनी कोई इंग्लिश वर्ड ही नहीं है, तो बोलते हैं हमारा बच्चा ब्रेनी है। क्यों ब्रेनी है? एक नहीं, स्कूल में एक्सप्लेनेशन क्या है? अच्छा वो क्या है, अच्छा मैथ्स में उनको 100 में 80 मिला, फिजिक्स में 81 मिला, केमिस्ट्री में 75 मिला, और लैंग्वेज में बांग्ला या हिंदी में 45 मिला, और प्राउडली बोल रहे हैं कि अरे वो तो ये सब सब्जेक्ट बेकार सब्जेक्ट है, ये इतना ब्रेनी है। तो क्या है, ये तो मम्मी लोग बनाया है, ये पापा लोग बनाया है।
मम्मी पापा को कैसे
मम्मी पापा बोलते हैं, हाँ क्यों मम्मी पापा लोग बोलते हैं। आई हैव सीन वन ऑफ माय कोलीग्स सेइंग पापा नॉट मम्मी, कि आई वाज टेलिंग माय सन, when you prepare the subjects, how much you are liking is very important. So he started with something very, philosophical and intellectual. So then he said that, my son likes this, English very much, and he can write English very much. But I have told, no, you have to do very well in JEE. So I will send you to Kota for your, JEE class and all. Forget about this English, useless. You are anyway so good. At any point of time, you will be able to speak in English. Why spend time in such useless thing? He started with that philosophical. When it came to his own son, he became that same papa mummy fact. So this is a societal problem.
So what's your answer to those papa mummies, sir?
So my answer is that excellence in a subject requires a combination of right brain and left brain, and these two parts of the brain are creative and analytical, and you require a combination. I imagine that if someone have done the IQ analysis, our poet Kaviguru Rabindranath Tagore and Albert Einstein, who were almost of similar era,
yes,
they must have got the similar IQ. I'm dead sure.
Agreed. And they were very good contacts of each other.
They were very good contacts. We have seen the photographs, they have, their meetings and all. So what I would say is that delicate balance of left brain and right brain is required to become excellent in every subject. If you do not want to be excellent and try to become ordinary, you make this distinction. Forget about this. But excellence in a subject,
agreed,
will require the equal, talent. For a person who is analyzing history, who is analyzing social dynamics, and who is analyzing fluid dynamics, all the same.
So with this, my dear audience, we will conclude here with one learning from Professor Chakraborty, that no subject is bad, no subject is good. It's about the interest, it's about the balance of your left brain and right brain. If you feel an interest, if you feel a passion for it, if you have a purpose driven for it, you are made for it. But if you have selected a subject and you are struggling with it, it is like you are doing a suicidal study. It's not meant for you, and if you are at any verge of your life, switch it to what you want to do. So that's all for today, and thank you, sir, for being with us.